one's that. I'll go over to Instagram. Okay, go to Instagram now. Connect. Go live. Come on. Connecting stream. All right, there we go. Hey, there we are. We're live there on Instagram. We're live on YouTube and we're live Facebook. There we go. There we are. Cool. Well, good morning. Hello, everybody. And Dana's driving, and we're not going to interfere with her driving. We want her to be safe. And there we are. Perfect. Hey, Dana.
I can still talk.
You certainly can. You certainly can. Perfect. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Yeah, my name is George Villia, and my buddy here, John, the Iceman of Frost. He's a really good buddy. And then Dana's new with us, and we're excited to have her visiting with us. We should have other people coming in and out. Lori was on. She has an issue that she has to do with her mom, which is great, but she may be back on. And Deanna and everybody else. So we're going to talk about a lot of things today. We're going to go into the whole idea of metabolic health. And when we start looking at metabolic health, we're going to be talking about, here's our agenda. So we're going to talk about a few questions, struggles, history of why we got here, what's going on, solutions, and then we're going to look at a lot of proof, personal, social, and scientific. We're going to talk about our protocol. And we're going to look at, well, just kind of the future. So that's kind of what our agenda is. So we're going to start. And the first question, would you agree that there is a metabolic problem in America? Would you agree with that? Yes or no? Yes, absolutely. And would you agree that that problem will increase in the next 5 to 10 years? In other words, will it get worse? Yes, and everybody agrees. And then would you agree that most Americans spend between $6 and $10 every day on breakfast, sodas, smoothies, chips, candy, power drinks, and other kinds of snacks? And you know what? They don't even know it because most of the time they use plastic. But would you agree that they spend $6? Yeah, or more, right, John?
Yeah, or the so-called health drinks because it's zero sugar, 0 calories. Yeah.
Yeah. So people spend that much in an easy deal. So we have that issue. And so the question is, why we're on here is we're answering, is there a need? Is the need increasing? Is there a solution? And if you had your choice of a solution to a metabolic or a food issue, when metabolism refers to the energy conversion inside your body. That's what metabolism is. Right. And there's some issues with that process, which causes metabolic diseases. And those metabolic diseases or conditions are showing up in a lot of things. We're going to talk about that. But if you could, would you rather have a synthetic, a drug, a chemical, or would you rather have a natural solution? Exactly. Would you rather much have a natural solution? So we're going to show you that there is one and that it's proven scientifically, it's proven in social, and it's our personal proof that we're going to talk about. So, John, there's this whole thing about this number one problem in the world, isn't there?
Yeah, it's, a lot of people, they think because they're not overweight or they don't have any major medical diagnosis, they don't realize that they are metabolically unhealthy. I mean, because just the way the American society is, and 93% of Americans is metabolically unhealthy, whether you know it or don't know it. And the sad part is as the more and more our lifestyle gets advertised and promoted, other countries around the world are adapting on this lifestyle. And so now we're starting to see the metabolic unhealthiness carry over into third world countries or even other countries that are just sophisticated as ours, and they're still having the same problem. Like United States, we're the number one nation in the world with the most advanced medical technology, most medical advanced treatments, but yet we're the unhealthiest society. Why is that? It's because of our metabolically unhealthiness. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, there's no nice way to put it, and there's no way to sugarcoat it. You just basically have to blunt it out there and say, yeah, we're all metabolically unhealthy, whether you realize it or not. I mean, that's why we're here. We're here to help you understand what's causing it, how it's being hijacked, and what you can do to change it. So, with that slide there, George has got a wonderful presentation about how to increase your health span versus your lifespan. I mean, he explains a lot better than I can. So
what we want people to do, exactly right, John, and what we want people to have the ability to have is their health, their health to last as long as their life. Think about it. If you think about the old days of money, is that we don't want to have too much month at the end of the money. We don't want to have too much life at the end of our health. Right. We don't want to have 20, 30, 40 years of dependency on other people because our health is so poor. There's no reason for that. We want you to have a full lifetime of full good health. That's what we're looking for here. And then the picture right there, you can see there's two people the same age, but golly bum, there's a whole host of differences. Now I'm 73, and I'm blessed to be as healthy as I am. But I see people that are 30, 40, 50 that would love to be as healthy as I am. And so that's what we're talking about here. And then we can do it with better metabolic health. So what we're going to talk about in a little bit of history of how did we get here. And I'm talking about a 70 plus year lifespan. For the first 30 or so years of my life, I wasn't involved in this meteoric rise of all these diseases, because when I was a kid, for example, we had beef. We didn't have to have grass-fed beef or this fed beef or what. We had beef.
It's just beef.
It was beef, and and it was and pork and chicken and everything else, lamb. It was all just grazed and raised and eat. We and I'm old, and yes, I hunted and fished, so it doesn't mean I'm Davy Crockett. But the whole idea is that we could do that as well. So we knew natural food, and we raised gardens. But now we have an abundance of food. We have an abundance of food. Think about it. How many minutes are you away from a convenience store full of food? Or how many minutes are you away from 5 or 6 grocery stores or superstores that all have food? Everywhere there's food, okay? But the question is what's the quality of that food? So we're going to talk a little bit about the history of food. So let's go back and look at how we got to where we are. Well, first off, back in the day, there was a thing called tobacco. And one of the things that the tobacco is highly addictive. And we all know that. I mean, it says it on the packages, right? Well, what happened is that there were some experiments done at a college, at a university, Columbia, I believe. Anyway, and what they did is they put rats in front of a street drug. Now, they got addicted to that. Then they put them in front of sugar water. Guess what? They got addicted to the sugar water. Now what happens is that, okay, great. What if then we could take the sugar water and take sugar and put it inside of the cigarettes? And that's really what happened. So what happened is now we have addictive substance inside of an addictive substance. And then cigarettes became regulated. In other words, you had to be 18 to buy them. And so now what happened was that's going to change the rules of this whole thing. Now, the next thing that happened was they took fiber out of the food. Now, they took fiber out because they wanted, initially it was to what? To increase the shelf life of the food so it could be sent overseas so the troops could have it without spoilage. But guess what they never did? They never put it back in the food. So the shelf life has gone up. We've taken fiber out. The next thing that happened was they invented hydrolyzation. Hydrolyzation is taking hydrogen and forcing it into a liquid or an oil, and it solidifies it. And guys, that's your peanut butter. That's peanut butter. You guys, that happens with peanut butter. And then they also did it with what's called cottonseed oil. Now with cottonseed oil, what happened was they hydrolyzed that and it turned it into what we now know as Crisco. And Crisco has a longer shelf life than lard and butter and that. So that pushes that out of the way. And then what happened was just on everything else that went along is there was this guy that had a cereal. He wanted to get more cereal sold. And they came up with the whole idea that the most important meal is your break fast. Now, breaking your fast is the most important meal, but it doesn't mean it has to be at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning. And it doesn't have to be a bowl of Foopa Loopies or whatever. It doesn't have to be those carbs. But that's the brand that you learned, and now you believe that myth and that legend. So now big media comes into play, and Dana, you're young as well, and I'll bet you watch cartoons on Saturday mornings, and all those were bought by the Toucan Sam and the Captain and Tony and all of those guys, like the Rice Krispie Popper guys and whatever. So the media got you so that where you were in the cart with mom, you were going, I want this, I want this, I want that. Now Kelly was on with us last night. She says, I just wanted the toy. But the whole thing is that she knew the toy was there because what? The media taught her that was there. And so that idea that I want, I need, that was brought by the media. Now, because tobacco now is getting more regulated and they now understand science and there's laboratories, they brought in and started buying the food companies. Think about that. The guys that brought the addictive substance, tobacco, now brought all the sugar companies. Well, not really sugar companies, I should say food companies, right? They just introduced the sugar to it. So now what they were able to do is engineer our food to be hyper palatable. So it's addictive. They use the combinations of sugar and fats, the omega-6 fats, the seed oils, salts and carbohydrates, and they also created sugary drinks back in that day. And that became highly addictive. Then it's like, this just never stops. Then what happens is high fructose corn syrup came out about 1972, 1973. And I know you guys weren't born then, but that when you were live and when you were going at it, now you already knew that you're used to that flavor. You're used to that taste. You're used to all that. So what happens is then tobacco got out. But what happens next? Well, we have this abundance of food. Big pharmacy is just waiting for you. Big pharmacy and big eggs waiting. So this is kind of what you would think the world would look like. Exercise and diets and fiber and all that fun stuff. But this is kind of what has happened. They've taken the fiber out and replaced it with starches. They've taken the wild-caught food and they've farm-raised that. They've taken everything that was natural and have re-engineered it for one thing, and that's profit. So here are all your conglomerate. This is the world of food. And these guys control your diet or what's available for your diet. And they make it very addictive. And do you think they sit in the boardroom thinking, how can we make our food more nutritious? Or do you think, how can we make our food more profitable? And the more profitable means there's more fillers. They took stuff out, they put in the chemicals. And then, speaking of chemicals, this is the next group that's waiting for you. That's the pharmaceutical guys. They're just waiting for you. Now, we go here. Now, some of these big pharma companies and biotech companies are also what? They're also in the ag industry. They're also in the ag industry. So do you see kind of what's going on here? I are in the corner of everybody circling around us for profit. And so we're caught in this trap. We're caught in this circular trap because we have to eat That's great. And most of us can't raise all of our food, and we don't have the time or some really the money to get all the ingredients that you necessarily want. So we buy this stuff, and we do our best. Some of you do, and some of you do what you do. But these guys are waiting for you. And once you get identified with the pharmaceutical thing, you never get off. You just don't ever get off. So here's just a little quick idea. And Dana, you'll like this picture because what it shows is that's Mr. Belly so big right there. And that's the inside and the outside. So sometimes you don't know what's going on in the inside just because you look at the outside. You like that one, Dana?
Oh my, that's a good picture.
So this is me. I'm just going to show you. We're going to talk about the social proof that we have the ability to prove that we can do and we improve. So this is me over the years. This is me now. This is just last week. I'm now down to a 28-inch waist. Here I'm at those pants are 30s. Here I'm at the 32, and here I'm at I don't know, 5 yards. However big that is, I don't know. So what happens is this: the struggle's real. The struggle is real, and I refer to it as diet whack-a-mole. And I don't know about you, Dana, but I have been on every diet that's ever been known to mankind, from Jenny Craig to Weight Watchers to vegetarian to fat belly, flat belly, to MetaFast and Body Reset and raw food and paleo and whole food and 30 and Mayo Clinic and Seattle Sutton and Nutrisystem and all of those. It's diet whack-a-mole. It really is. So this is what the lesson is. Hungry always wins. Hungry always wins. And when hungry wins, you fail. So let's look at that. For number one of the reasons that you fail and hungry wins is because you think in the short term. I'm going to do this. And you want to think about short term? What's the one annual short term that most people do? New Year's resolutions. I'm going to give up. I'm going to go to. I'm going to start. And you have that flash of an idea. And how long does that last? To January 2nd, 3rd, maybe the 12th, right? How many people have tried dry January or whatever? Yeah, that lasts maybe whatever. So the whole thing here is that it's a flash and you fail. Then there you go. And then the next thing that happens is that causes you to fail is you go all or nothing. You go all or nothing. And what happens when you fail in that, now you have shame. You have guilt because you told everybody you're going to do this. And then, how's that going? Well, I tried and didn't work and I failed. And then you feel guilty. Or the next thing you do is you believe you can do it on your own. By golly, I can do it on my own. I know I can. And then you tell somebody. You tell a friend or some family member. And then they start teasing you. They start ridiculing you. Oh, you think you're better than me? You think you can do this? So then you're all by yourself. And trying to do it Lone Ranger style doesn't work either. So then you get, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to work out. I'm going to buy a membership. I'm going to walk every day. I'm going to start jogging. I'm going to train for a marathon because exercise conquers it all. But the fact is, guys, you can't out-exercise poor diet. It doesn't work like that. And so then something that causes people to fail that they don't even know is the subtleness of poor sleep and high stress. Poor sleep and high stress affect hormones, and those hormones do matter. And one of those is cortisol, and it has effect on insulin, and insulin has effect on everything as well. So we're going to talk about that. And then the final thing, people with the short term and all or nothing, they also then reach for a magic pill, some kind of lotion or potion, some type of shot, that's going to make it work. Again, it's temporary and it's really a waste of money. So if you're going to look at doing something, it needs to be proven, needs to be clinically proven, needs to have social proof, and needs to be proven over time to actually work. And that's what we're going to talk about. And just one last thing, just to show you how wacky I've been and how these things work, is that in 2010, I had pretty much normal numbers, even though I was juicing. I think I sold more Breville juicers than anybody other than Joe Cross in the world. But then in 2019, my blood glucose was 600 plus and an A1C of 14.6. Then what happened was in October of 24, I had 834 and 18.1. I had life-threatening condition. Life-threatening condition. We're going to talk about how we reverse this without any medications. So do you have any of these? And I'm going to let John speak a little bit about some of the symptomology. John, if you want to come on and talk about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, George. You got the vacuum going. It's like on my mic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the thing is, like the symptoms that George is talking about, diabetes, obesity, high blood sugar, metabolic syndrome. And metabolic syndrome is widespread. I mean, it doesn't just narrow down one thing. I mean, a lot of things fall under metabolic syndrome. So, like heart disease, Alzheimer's, sleep apnea, all those things on there, you can technically categorize all those that's on this list into metabolic syndrome. Because, for years I was a type 2 diabetic and I fought it for years. And then just recently, before the protocol, my endocrinologist told me that, it might be because of your metabolic syndrome. That's the only time I've ever heard anything about metabolic syndrome. And so, but even then, they didn't give me that great detail of what it is, what's causing it, or how to treat it, besides take more pills and more shots. So, if you see like any of these, like chronic inflammation, if you see, skin tags, dark patches of skin, which is acanthosis nigricans is what it's technically called. If you see any of those are first good signs that you're on the road to becoming a diabetic. So, or even belly fat, obesity, it's a good sign of being towards diabetes. And what the good thing that causes all that is we found out is being linked to is insulin resistance. And that's what George is kind of doing his presentation towards, is building up to what is the reason why we're getting insulin resistance. Because we're finding out that the way the food environment is being hijacked with all these alternative chemicals, added fillers, processed sugars, all this stuff. And it's really causing havoc on our metabolic health. And so, like if you get sugar in the brain, you have a hard time thinking. You have a hard time. I can't think of the word. I just had it in my mind, but I lost train of thought. But, you blame that on the sugar. But the thing is, I haven't had any today. But that's the thing is, because of the 25 years dealing with the diabetes, I'm trying to rebuild that back. And you don't realize how having sugar in your body just robs your health from you. You don't see that. It just slowly does it over time, and it just gets worse and worse no matter how hard you try. Because like with all these here, like where they're difficult to lose weight, I've been 300 plus pounds my whole life until just recently. Low energy and fatigue. I suffered from that hardcore. Always hungry. Yeah, I was always hungry, and I just chalked it up as getting older and not eating enough. So what did I do? Started eating with 2 to 3 hours, trying to keep that hunger sensation going. In all reality, all I was doing was feeding into my insulin resistance, making it worse. I never really had any cravings for salt, but sugar cravings, hardcore. I've always had sugar cravings. Even to the day, I still have sugar cravings. But that's the privilege of this protocol. It makes it so I don't have those cravings as bad, and it makes it easier to deal with. Headaches, never really had a problem with those, but aches and pains, hardcore had those too. But those are gone too now. So, we can relate to almost 90% of what's going on with people in the world today. It doesn't matter whether you're white, black, brown, purple, red, yellow, Filipino, Asian. I mean, you name it, this will affect you one way or the other. It doesn't just target a specific ethnicity or race. It's everybody. And it's hard, it's sad to say, because you try to go to your doctor to get help with this, and they try to help you, but the problem is the way they help you is not the correct way to take care of this situation. So that's why we're on here trying to explain to you guys and let you know what's the correct way to take care of this and target this. Because it's like George, gentleman, he was a type 2 diabetic too. I don't know for how long, but he was for a long time too. I suffered from 25 years. I don't know Dana. I don't know what her story is, but she suffered from all this too. And we all came across this protocol, and we were reversing all the problems we're having. We're getting our health back where it needs to be. And that's why we're on here, to help you guys realize what is going on with your metabolic health and how it's getting hijacked. So if you have any of these symptoms, man, feel free to reach out. I mean, can't help you if we don't know about it.
Exactly.
So, that's simple.
Exactly. So, guys, one of the things about metabolic resistance is just, if you look at this wheel of torture, one of the things is that dementia, Alzheimer's, that is now called type 3 diabetes, because that's the restriction, the rejection of insulin resistance. So we have issues there, and it's reversible. It's proven. It's more and more studies are done that are proving that it's reversible, and it does require a lifestyle intervention. It does require changing in diet, but just because we need to do those things doesn't mean it's not reversible, because it's proven to be reversible and doesn't require gazillions of drugs. Right now, in every town, any town of any size significance, they are building warehouses for you. They already know where you're going to end up.
I love how you put that, warehouses for you. What he's meaning, people, is nursing homes. That's what he's meaning. Assisted living places.
Yes, exactly.
You keep going on this standard medical care with pills, shots. That's where you're going to end up. You're going to get sicker. You're going to get worse and worse. You don't improve. You just get worse.
Exactly.
That's there because there's no way around it if you follow their plan.
Yeah. And think about this. I'm talking from a 70-year-old perspective. So if you look back at pictures of me in high school and everybody that were my classmates, and if you looked at all the pictures of all the kids in school, and if you looked at all of our parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents, you don't see anybody that has these things. People didn't, body fat and Alzheimer's, diabetes. I mean, if you had a fatty liver, you were the one Festus in town. You were the one guy, unfortunately, that had that issue of overconsumption. Exactly. But now we have what's called non-alcoholic fatty liver that's in grade school kids. Think about that. If they're 8, 9, 10 years old and they have a fatty liver, what are they going to be like at 20 or 30 or 40? And PCOS and low T's and all these types of things. Diabetes is on the rise. But I would ask you this, if you look at pictures of people from the 70s, 60s, and back, do you think that we were better at counting calories? Do you think we were better at counting carbohydrates? Do you think we were better at going to the gym? We didn't even have gyms, for heaven's sakes. The only gym I remember was the gymnasium at the high school. Now you've got food shops on every corner, and the ones that don't have a food shop have a gym, right? And then inside of what was your grocery store or your superstores now have a pharmacy. I mean, why? Because you got so many drugs. It wouldn't have to be that convenient if people weren't downing all those yum yums. And it's all because of the metabolic issues, and that's all stems from food got us into this mess. Food will get us out. So I'm going to help everybody because everybody thinks, well, there must be some kind of money catch or something like that, or these guys are trying to sell something. Okay, I'm going to give you some free advice. And if you follow this free advice, this will help you. And you could have some success. And so if someone asks me, and John knows, if someone asks me for free advice, I tell them to F off. I tell them to F off. Why? Because I tell them food or fast, the order of food, fiber, fat,
There you go.
and the P is silent. So you're going to fast, then you're going to, in the order of food, it's going to be fiber, fat, and protein. So you can see here, we recommend that, and people say, I can't fast. Well, you just did. You were asleep. And by the time you woke up, you were still fasting. So what you want to do is we want to extend the fast. And what we have is the ability to extend the fast with a tea. You can drink coffee in the morning. Well, we're going to interject a tea that's specially designed to help with prolonging that fast. And the longer you get to fast, the more fat you get to burn. And after all, that's what you want to do, isn't it? You want to burn the fat. So we're going to do that. And then before our meal, either the first or second, sometimes some of us do it before each meal, we introduce what they took out, the first thing element they took out, which was fiber. So we interject the fiber in. We're going to do another tea, and we're going to fast at the end of the day. So we're drinking 2 teas and a fiber. We're giving up all those snacks so we don't need them. So we're only going to eat 2 times a day, not 6 or 7 times a day. And so that's how that's going to play out. So we're going to look at, well, let's do this. Let's look at, does it even work? So here's a little bit of proof. So there's me again. And here's proof. This is me, and there's me in a 1970s suit. Here's again, golf, same shirt. Look at the difference. That's a 30-inch waist. That's a 28-inch waist. So does it work? Absolutely. Now this is John. We'll talk about him in a minute. Here's Andrea. Now Andrea, she is a great girl, and she's just had her birthday, and look how young she looks. Look how dynamic she is. Look at that.
Sorry, my wife.
No problem. And we'll talk about John. There's
So yeah. So here on this, they're in the black. I just barely got off work. You know, if anybody knows me before, I was, former law enforcement, so I worked in the jail, had a certain uniform I had to wear and all that. But I took my uniform off, and that's what I had to wear underneath everything. But this was at my son's after graduation type party or something. No, it's band banquet. That's what it was. It was a band banquet. And it was right after he graduated, was getting ready to graduate, senior night for band banquet. And in that picture there, I'm in all black, I'm probably about 330, 335 pounds, around there somewhere. And the thing is I did everything I could besides intense workouts. I followed the diets. I followed the doctor's advice, taking the pills, the shots for diabetes, and I could never get my weight under control. I was always 300 plus pounds my whole life. And you can really see in this picture how far I've gone, how far my body went for storing fat and all this kind of crap from eating the wrong type of foods, eating the wrong food order, I should say. And just the reaction my body is having from the medications and the pills not helping. So the picture there on the right there in the blue shirt, that was just me about 2.5, 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. And that I'm in that picture. It was probably I'm 238 pounds, just around there. And I've lost that weight by doing this protocol and not following a certain diet or a certain intense workout. Right? I mean, only workout I did is when I was able to get up and move was walk. I walked 10, 15, 20 minutes after eating. That was it. And that was after my foot got healed from the foot ulcer. During the whole time when I lost the first 60 pounds on this, I was in a recliner waiting for my foot to heal. So, I lost 60 pounds by sitting in the recliner and just taking this protocol and following the proper food order. Now, this slide here is actually 6 months apart. Uh, right there on the right side with the Under Armour shirt, that is back actually at my daughter's Army graduation from boot camp. And in that picture, I was about 320 pounds. So in about 2 years span, I lost 10 pounds. So, I mean, that shows you right there. Yeah, you can do it without the protocol. It's tough. It's hard. But, I was making it work. I was losing little by little. But then in the other picture there with the red shirt, that was 4 months on the protocol. And that was probably about 245-ish pounds. So, and that's 6 months apart between the time from those two pictures right there. So, I mean, you can see a big difference. Now, this here is me almost 5 months on, because 5 months will be in 2 more days. And I'm actually down 80 pounds now, not 78. But my wife, she's been doing it now, and she's actually down 30 pounds, not 27, but she's a month behind us. And the thing is this protocol is making it so we can get our health and our life back. I really, truly believe that this protocol is what saved my life. Because back in February, I really would have passed away if it wasn't for this protocol. Because, when I was sitting here at home waiting for my foot to heal and all that, I was on the verge of going septic, and I didn't realize it because of the way the brain fog is and the way that the blinders get put on you, because having the sugar in your mental stations like that, it's going to Alzheimer's, leading towards dementia. You don't recognize those. You don't see those. Other people can, but if other people try to be courteous and kind to jump in and tell you about it, you take it the wrong way and you snap at them and get angry or yell or even violent. I've seen people just get violent when you try to ask them a question, not realizing your mental status is what is deteriorating, and it's because of the sugar. It's not because of other reasons. So, and that's the reason why Alzheimer's is now considered type 3 diabetes. So, and since doing this, the brain fog is lifted. My mental clarity is coming back. And even to today, I start remembering things that I lost memories years ago because of this. So, I still keep getting memories. Just like yesterday, we're talking and how we're like brushing our teeth, because we're like, hey, I just realized my gums don't bleed like they used to, because we're getting that inflammation down. It's amazing what is linked towards inflammation. So, what's the next slide you got there, George?
There you go. And then we got good old Andrea. And guys, she is so special to us. And she's been in the healthcare fields for a long time, and she's found this protocol, and it's totally changed her life as well. Look at this. Not she wasn't diabetic, but she had all kinds of other related issues related to insulin resistance. And here's our friend A. Marie. Now, she's literally a rocket scientist. And she's been able to, one, fix her metabolic health, and two, has replaced her 27-year career in the aerospace industry, being in this industry. We'll talk about that as well.
In 9 months.
In 9 months. Now, this is our mentor and our buddy, our leader, if you will.
The leader of the misfits.
Yes, we're part of this business. We're part of this group. But his Dr. Kenny, and this is like 35 days apart. Is that?
Yeah, 35 days apart between these two pictures. And he was never a diabetic. I mean, he was borderline pre-diabetes, if I remember correctly. But he had cardiac AFib. and his appendix burst, and that's what really got him going down this, because he was in the hospital for his appendix, and that's when he found out about the AFib, insulin resistance, and all that. And so this isn't just for diabetics. This shows you that it affects everybody. Like I told you earlier, it doesn't matter what ethnicity you are or what gender you are. This affects you one way or another. And if you don't have a diagnosis now, doesn't mean you're not on the road to it. Like, this is Dr. Kenny's wife. This picture is 2 months apart, and you can see her on the left there with her belly. That's the cortisol belly. That's just because at the time was when Dr. Kenny was in the hospital, and she's dealing with all that stress. And cortisol, and when cortisol's high, you're stressed, very stressful. And then doing this protocol, I mean, you see the difference there in 2 months, how much she's lost around the midsection, because she got the cortisol under control. Plus, she suffered from PCOS. Unfortunately, I don't know much about that because I'm on a female, and my wife never had it, so I didn't know much about it until I came across this protocol, finding out that PCOS is equivalent to what ED is for guys, but that's for the females. And, they suffered for what? Took them like 7 years to have their daughter, something like that.
Yeah, it's the leading cause of it. PCOS is the leading cause of infertility.
Yes.
In America. And think about those ramifications. Especially for families or those that want to have families, and all the thousands and tens of thousands of dollars that people spend.
Oh yeah.
When in fact it's as simple as reversing insulin resistance.
All the fertility treatments and all that.
Yeah. Think about that. So why wouldn't they treat what's in it for them to not reverse your insulin resistance? Just asking for a friend.
$6 trillion business per year.
Yeah. And this is good old Vicky. Right?
Type 1 diabetic. And that's I get that all the time from people. They're like, well, how's this work for type 1 diabetes? And you can't reverse type 1. Yeah, well, technically you can't, but you can improve it. Hardcore improve it. Like Vicky here, she has cut her insulin consumption down 80%. Before doing this, she was taking 60 units of insulin a day. And that's, I don't know what she was doing before each meal, but on average it was 60 to 65 units, if I remember correctly, per day. And she's cut that down 80%. So she's only taking like maybe 15, 20 units a day, depending on what she eats. I know she's no longer taking insulin before she eats like she had to before. I was on that verge of, when I had mine, I had to take fast-acting insulin and a long-lasting insulin. And then my fast-acting, I had to do it based off of a sliding scale of what my glucose was and compare it to what carbohydrates I was eating to get that. So I understand a little bit of how emotional taxing it comes. Like a type 1 diabetic has to keep on ball with that. And granted, with their CGM and their insulin pumps they have now makes it a lot easier for them, but they still have to keep track of that. But that's how she knows she's cutting down her 80% on insulin, because her insulin pump keeps track of that and know, hey, you haven't used this much insulin, so you've cut this down. And if I remember right, before starting this, she was relying on that so much that she had like 20% insulin reduction just from pills or something like that. But now it's 80% by doing this. And she's also lost like 35 pounds, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, and she's like, I want to say in her early 60s.
Yeah. And she did a fast. She's also done a fast too. She's done a couple fasts.
Yeah, right. A 72-hour fast. And type 1, you never think a type 1 can fast. And she's done a 72-hour fast with this protocol.
And this is Corrine, and Corrine is a type 1 now as well. And she's lowered her. She's not 2 months in, and she's lowered her intake for insulin from 200 down to 120. So that's significant. She's lost inches, like 5 or 6 inches, I think, when I just talked to her the other day. So and we talk about weight loss, we talk about the other things. Remember, we talked about Alzheimer's as a type 3 diabetes. Well, this is Cheryl. Now, Cheryl's going to be 80 in November, and it's okay. I can tell her because she's adjusted mentally to that now. But Cheryl, about 16 years ago, lost her sister, her twin sister, identical twin sister, to Alzheimer's. And so the reason that Cheryl's on this now is because she wants to make sure she prevents herself from getting into dementia or Alzheimer's. And her parents lived to 100 and had no signs of that either. So when people say it's genetic, I would argue the fact that there may be, but it's not direct. So there's also the stress factors, there's the dietary factors, those such of things that affect insulin resistance, that affect the causation of type 3 diabetes, which is Alzheimer's. And she doesn't need to lose an ounce of weight. She's staying right stable at about 94 to 98 pounds. She's on a 411 frame. She does not need any kind of weight loss issue. Now, this is Kelly, and Kelly was on with us yesterday. Kelly's a riot. She's been on this about maybe 6 weeks, maybe. She's down like 20 pounds. Her shirts are baggy and loose. Her pants are looser. I mean, all kinds of things. And it's not for diabetes for her. That's not her thing. But it is for other health issues and gut issues and things. And her husband is now on it. And he used to drink 16 to 18 sodas a day. 16 to 18 sodas a day. And he's down to none. He tried some the other day and goes, ugh, it's sticky.
Yeah, he had some of the Pepsi the other day, and she was telling me that he accepted it, and he like literally spit it out and like, oh, this is disgusting.
That's disgusting.
I agree, because I used to be a big time Diet Dr. Pepper fan, and I drink 1 to 2 liters a day back then. And then I finally had one just the other day, just out of nostalgic, just want to try it. And I take it, and I'm like, oh, this is nasty. I don't know how I liked it before. And then so we went to the movie theater the other day, and I tried not the zero sugar, just a regular soda. Oh man, same thing. It was just as nasty. I was like, nope, I'm done with soda.
There you go. I love it.
No, I can't do it.
And this is John. John was an NCC national or NCC conference champion butterflyer. I mean, look at the shoulders and stuff on him. Now he's grown his personality as it was. But when it thinks is he's on the protocol, it's less than a month. But people are noticing that how he's happier, and he's more cordial, and he's clear, and he's more personable. His attitude and moods have changed, and he's noticed that his shirts, he's down from a 4X to a 3X. Okay, and that's great. But the whole idea is that mentally, attitudinally, and John, you can relate to that. I mean, John's wife is incredible, and she gave a testimony the other day on a national call, and she just talked from the heart, and she has her husband back. Literally.
She did more than talk from the heart. She opened her heart, and
she did.
It there wasn't a dry seat in the house. It was
not at all.
So yeah, but like I think there was like John there. I mean, I've never met the gentleman. I saw him just the other day for the first time on one of these with George, and the thing is, like him, he's happier because people don't realize that your gut is what makes the happy hormone. That serotonin is your happy hormone, and it's made in your gut. And if you don't get your gut health, metabolic health for your gut taken care of, your gut don't produce the right serotonin. You don't produce enough, and then you wonder why everybody's getting so hangry or violent or just ornery, because they're not getting that serotonin. So then once we get this protocol and you start getting that gut health back where it needs to be, and once you start getting that boost in serotonin and getting that mental clarity, it's amazing how much happier you really are. And just because of the lack of terminology in my education and I don't know what else words to use, and that's just because I need to study more on literacy. I really do, but with my dyslexia, I have a hard time reading, and that's why I don't um, articulate. I guess you can say as well as some people do. But like Arlie here, she's the only Canadian that I know that's has the accent really well, really good, and she'll let you know too. I mean, if you make her mad, she'll like, hey, it's awesome. I love watching her. And but the thing is she wasn't diabetic. Um, her
Her
daughter's
daughter is. Yeah. Yeah. Her
daughter's
daughter.
I remember is it type 1 or type 2? I can't remember.
Good. Good.
But she was diabetic, and so she was looking into other natural holistic ways to take care of diabetes, and she came across this, and she actually started taking it before she put her daughter on it because any to me, any loving, caring mother is going to do that before just throwing like the child on there. I mean, that's how my wife is. My wife started doing it when she saw me melting away. She started doing it. Now my wife's talking to, my youngest daughter's pregnant. My wife's like, hey, you got to get on this, even though you can't fast because you're pregnant, but you got to get on this. So that way, none of the genetic traits get passed through to our grandchild that's on the way. That's the reason why it's genetic, is because the mother develops it while the baby's developing and it carries over. And so that's why they say it's genetic. In all reality, it's not. But that was last slide there was Scott. That was pretty. He's another amazing testimony. This one here is not Annette, Benita and Andrew, and they're another great couple that's doing this over in Arizona. They're making some good headway out there. And she's actually a nurse, and I can't remember what specific type of nurse, but she's in the medical field, but she's also studying brain patterns and stuff like that too. So she's got a lot of wealth of knowledge. She's fun to talk to. Also, I'm not sure who that one is. I know that's somebody with the testimony, but the thing is, we've got all these testimonies, like JoJo here. JoJo, he has literally lost what he calls a JoJo because he's lost so much weight off of this. Uh, I can't remember how long he's been on. He's been on quite a while because his first photo there is July of 2023. I know he's been on it for maybe close to 2 years, but he's lost a lot and he's improved his health tremendously. He's not. Jimmy's the one that has no thyroid, right? Okay, I can't remember if he has anything or not. But this is Dr. Midge. She's actually speaking tonight on our science call. So, you guys would love to hear from her. She is awesome at talking this. She was going to medical school to be a pediatrician when she found out her dad was diabetic. Switched from being a pediatrician to an endocrinologist to help her dad take care of diabetes. And during that time, as learning how to be a diabetes educator, how to treat it, she ended up starting to develop pre-diabetes herself. So, that right there should be an indication to you well, if she's becoming an endocrinologist and person who's supposed to be preventing people from getting diabetes, and she's learning it, how to control it, how to manage it, but then she starts to develop too, that should show you right there that the current medical standard care for the way we treat diabetes is not accurate. I mean, but luckily for her, she's found this protocol, so she's got her life back on track. She got her father on there, and unfortunately, he was a 29-year diabetic at the time, so he developed dementia at that time. So she was able to reverse the type 2 diabetes, but she didn't have him fast because food was the only thing that kept him happy because of the dementia. But now she's still practicing. She's still a doctor, but instead of putting people on pills and shots, she puts them on this protocol. And so she's changing a lot of lives by doing this. Right here's Jonathan Scott, 10-year ex-NFL player. He got an amazing story too. I don't think he was diabetic or anything like that, but he had really bad arthritis in his hands from being in the trenches of the linemen and all that. Every play you're smacking your knuckles, you're beating yourself up in that line, and because of that, you're developing that arthritis, and you barely close his fist. I mean, he's talking about only like this far. Now doing this, I think this picture here, I think is what 45 days apart.
Yep, 45 days apart.
I don't know. I mean, you can tell he's lost a lot of weight. I don't know how much he's lost, but he's lost a good amount of weight from this. But the thing is he can close his hand now and it don't hurt. I mean, we have testimonies for everything you can think of, and either it's helped improve it tremendously or it's reversed it. I mean, it's hands down, this is like the best solution that I've come across for everything. Like Michael Martin here, this gentleman, if you can ever catch him on live, he's hilarious to listen to. He's just a normal Joe Blow person on the street and just got a really great attitude and just very funny guy. But the thing is when he came across his protocol, he was on medical disability. He couldn't work. So he was medical disabled. So he figured out a way to afford this protocol off of medical disability. And once he started implementing the product and implementing the lifestyle, 9 months here, you see right there, 492 to 376 pounds. So that's over 120, almost 120 pound difference in 9 months. He's actually farther than that now because he's been on it longer than 9 months. But before that, he was on 28 medications. 8 of them were just for blood pressure. And I think it was it 9 months? He was off all his medications for at least blood pressure. And I think he's currently on 3 right now. Out of
3 he's on 3 medications. And when he was looking at it, he probably shows his budget, guys. He had his life built around every penny for every day. And when he looked at the protocol and looked at what it cost, and he goes, I'm spending $8 a day on breakfast. I'm cash flow ahead.
Yep.
I'm cash flow ahead. And so he's calculated that for the month, and he goes, I'm going to do this. Oh, part of the reason that he got started on it was that he went to the doctor, and the doctor said, well, I don't know. I see you many time again. He was a little Asian doctor, and goes, why? He goes, why? Mike goes, well, because I can't do nothing else for you. You'll be dead in 2 years. Now, Mike didn't like that idea. That was like, at least someone was being honest with him, right?
Right.
And so he said, okay, so he agreed with the protocol. He started the protocol. And then he saved enough money because he's getting off all these copays. He's literally saving hundreds of dollars, and he bought himself a truck.
Yep.
And he bought himself a new truck. He goes from having every penny and nothing and bad health and a prediction of maybe 2 years to getting his health back, getting positive cash flow, and a new truck. I mean, come on, that's way cool. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we wanted to touch on some of these stories because, guys, we have literally hundreds of them. So what's this protocol, and what we've given you social proof. Now let's look at some scientific proof. Scientific proof is the first thing. Look in the PDR. Take any drug, anything, any prescription that you have is in this book. It's called the Physician's Desk Reference. It used to be an actual hardbound book. I remember it on my dad's desk in the clinic, which we had in the house.
Yeah, it's called like Prescriber's Digital Reference or something now.
Yeah, Prescriber's Digital Reference. So it's .net. So you can look it all up in there. And you will see if you're on some blood pressure medications, or if you're taking one of those shots, or if you're taking some diabetic medications, look them up. I'm not going to beat it up anymore on this one. I'm tired of that today. I'll beat it up another day. But I dare you to look it up. I double dog dare you to look up every one of your medications, because on most of them will have a box warning.
Yep.
It's called a box warning. I call it the black box warning because that medication could put you in your final black box.
Yep.
That's it. So look them up there. I'm just going to tell you, you can look up the protocol. We have 18 products. We have more nutraceutical products in this than any other company. We have 18 of them proudly listed, showing no side effects, none, no counteractions, none. And I defy you to go look at your products, look at your things that you've been prescribed, and let's have a conversation. The next thing is remember I said about proof, clinical proof? Cleveland Clinic. You've probably heard of the Cleveland Clinic. If you haven't, it's the number one heart hospital in the world. And they did in 1991, they did research on our fiber product, the replacement for the fiber, and their results were this. Such a product, if taken regularly, could reduce cardiovascular risk on a population basis and potentially decrease the need and dose for lipid-lowering prescription drugs. Guys, this packet, this little, where is mine? I got to find it. Well, John's got one right there. That right there is what they're talking about. That's the fiber replacement. That packet right there, if given to Americans on a population basis, thinking about this, on a population basis would decrease the need and or dose of lipid-lowering prescription drugs. Think about that. Think about those of you that are on high blood pressure medications and cardiovascular medications. Think about the money that you spend and think about what this could do and what that would realize, and then think, who doesn't want you to know about it? And why don't they want you to know about it?
And see, those statin drugs they put you on for blood pressure and stuff like that, they do really good at bringing down your LDL. But the thing is, you need that LDL for your body to operate efficiently. And that's what people get mixed up, is because there's two different types of LDL. You got the pattern A, the big fluffy buoyant, the ones you want. Then you got the pattern B, which is small and dense. And when you have a high triglycerides or non-alcoholic liver disease, that's what you're going to have high of, is the VLDL, which is the small dense ones. So once you get your liver taken care of, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease taken care of, which this protocol does, you switch to the proper LDL, the big fluffy buoyant. You need those LDLs to transport your cholesterol through your body, because cholesterol is your main source for building molecules for your body. Your liver produces 80% of it. Your brain produces the rest it needs from itself, and then your brain's white matter and 20. That's something like that. I can't remember the exact terminology, right. But
well, and then they demonize cholesterol. They demonize cholesterol. Now think about this, guys. They demonize cholesterol, and your body makes 80 to 85% of the cholesterol. So when God put you together, He decided you needed cholesterol to build the cells for the brain, for the transport. You need cholesterol. Well, guess what? These guys came up with a medication or a drug that could lower it. Hey, look, let's lower cholesterol because we can. They don't have a thing for triglycerides, but they do for cholesterol. So now we're going to try to get lower cholesterol. Why? You need it. You need it. You can't function if you don't have it. Anyway. Sorry, I got off my thing.
No, you're good. That's why we get so passionate about this, is because the information we're getting told is wrong, and that's why we get so off path, because you start getting on this one and you're just so passionate because you want to help people realize what's going on and they can make the proper decision for their body, not to just take somebody's word because of credentials or because that's what we're taught by the curriculum to do. So, advocate your own health, look into it. If you take our word for it, cool, but that's not what we're here to. We're here to help you realize, look into the metabolic thing, be your own advocate.
So one of the things we look at is, let's look at blood sugar control, which is insulin resistance. And guys, I forgot to say this, is that when you hear the word insulin resistance, a lot of you then go, well, I'm not diabetic, so it doesn't apply to me.
Correct.
But you have insulin in your body. Insulin does what it's supposed to do. It's a growth hormone, and it helps transport and get the blood glucose, the energy, out of your bloodstream into your muscles, into the mitochondria cell, parts of the cell, which is the energy burning factories of the cells. It helps get it into the liver. It helps with all these other things. But we don't need to keep spiking it by throwing more sugar into the fire. So we just said, okay, how good could this be? How could this protocol be? And we fed some people some Eggo waffles and tablespoons of syrup and orange juice to spike them really high. And we gave them the balance. And go look what happened. It lowered it by 43%. That metformin that you're taking doesn't do any better than 30 on a good day. This is 43%, and it's a plant. It's food. It's natural. Also, for those people that are now, the GLP-1, people are taking shots for GLP-1. Let's talk about that. GLP-1, okay, is naturally produced in your body. It's naturally there. It's naturally there. What people are doing is they're taking shots to try to lose weight. I understand that because obesity is an issue. But you could naturally, with no negative interactions, increase your GLP-1 naturally with our chlorogenic tea, with our part of our protocol. But if you look up, well, there was just an article today. If you look up the effects of your GLP-1 shots,
Yep.
if you look those up in the PDR.net, what was it? I gotta give me half a second, John. I gotta find that article today. I just saw.
No problem. Yeah, but the thing is, if you look up the side effects in the PDR.net, it's going to link it to thyroid cancer. It's going to link it to some other carcinogenics. It's going to link it towards a lot of other health major chronic illnesses. And the thing is people jump on board just because they want to lose the weight, not realizing the side effects.
Here we go.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can see that. Go on.
Yeah.
Yeah. The use of semaglutide linked to doubled risk of neurovascular macular degeneration.
Yep.
Guys, that's going blind.
Yep, that's your blind. That's your capillaries in your eyes getting destroyed. Because my wife has an issue with her eyes. It was linked to, I want to say insulin resistance. They don't know for sure, but it's also linked to her kidney disease, and that's what they blame it on is DMAC because that's the closest thing they can code it to with what's going on with her eye. But the thing is since doing this protocol, her eye hasn't improved, like seeing wise, but it doesn't hurt. It's not getting worse. So it's slowly improving. But the thing is people don't realize is that the macular degeneration is because of your the blood vessels are constricting. And your blood vessels are constricting because of the insulin resistance. It's called vasoconstriction. And when they constrict like that, they just keep constricting, and it builds up your blood pressure. Well, in the capillaries, gets too much blood pressure like that, and they break open. Then that's when you start getting like the eye floaters, you start getting all sorts of other things. And it's mind-boggling. It really is. But the thing is it's so preventable. It really is. And people just can't see that. And no matter how hard we try, they just, instead of looking into it, they jump on and yell at us or argue with us. And yeah. But this graph here that George got is talking about how the food that we eat, how your body processes it. Like we all know that sugar and carbs, your glucose spikes. When your glucose spikes, your insulin spikes. We all know that. But the thing is, like for myself as a type 2 diabetic, I talked to dietitians and nutritionists. They told me to stay away from simple carbs, but eat complex carbs. Well, complex carbs spike your insulin just like what this does. Now, I was also told that complex carbs would gradually increase your glucose. Well, no, proteins do that, and fats has an even smaller gradual increase. But the thing is the fats over an 8 to 9 hour period, where proteins a 4 to 5 hour period. So when I jumped on board with carnivore to do my managing for type 2 diabetes, I was still eating just straight protein, but I was still eating every 2 to 3 hours because that's what we're told to do to keep your metabolism high. Not realizing that protein got converted into glucose. So, yes, my glucose at that time improved, but not good enough to where I want to be like I am now. So, that's why people have a hard time with keto, why people have a hard time with carnivore. It's not because they're lacking the willpower or lacking the discipline. They're doing because they're doing carnivore, they're doing keto. That means they got the willpower, they got the discipline. It's because they're looking into other ways to take care of it, but they're not realizing that eating that protein and those so-called keto healthy things are spiking their insulin. The only way to really get your insulin level down is honestly is time restrictive eating or fasting. That's the only way you can get your insulin down.
And if you guys look at this, see how that spike, it goes up and then it crashes. And so when this crash happens, you go reach for another something or other and you spike it back up. And then it goes up and it crashes back down.
And that crash is called a hypoglycemic. So when people are like, so I'm the opposite of diabetes, I have hypoglycemic. No, you're not. It's because you're eating something that spikes your glucose, and then your pancreas produces insulin, or you take an insulin shot if you're type 1, and the insulin does its job and brings your glucose down. That's why you get the crashes.
Yep. And that's why you eat 6, 7, 8 times a day, guys.
Yeah, that's why you're on that little roller coaster, as Dr. King likes to say.
Yep. And so this is proof. This is proof, guys, of my F off.
Right. And don't feel bad because I did it too. I know George did it too because he was diabetic. That's because we took the advice of the current standard American diet. We followed it. And the thing is, that standard American diet, they tell you to eat what 40 to 60% of your meal is carbohydrates. And you know, not all carbohydrates are sugar.
And you don't need, and we don't need carbohydrates. Carbohydrates is not a macronutrient. It's a macro mess. It's a waste.
Because your body will convert protein and fats into glucose. So that right there, proteins and fats, you can live off of and be granted, carbohydrates, 90% of it converts to glucose in 1 to 2 hours. So if you're looking for like a tremendous energy spike, like an energy boost, hit the carbs, but be ready for that crash afterwards. But be ready for it because you will crash hard. I've done one time now now that I've got my levels down where they're stable and all that. And one time I took some carbs just to see, oh yeah, I got that boost. I was ready to go. But hour later, I'm sitting in that recliner. I was out cold and I felt like crap. I didn't feel good. And so I don't get that with the protein now. Now I get the gradual thing with the protein, but if I went back to eating every 2-3 hours, I guarantee you'd be right back to where I was.
Absolutely.
Got to get the time restrictive eating in and the proper food order of fiber first.
Fiber first.
Yep.
Perfect. And so real quick, we've given you social proof, right? And we've given you personal proof. So here's going to be the scientific proof, and we'll wrap up this event. We'll wrap up this session today. We have showed you the Cleveland Clinic. We've talked about the University of Sydney, the home of the glycemic index. We've talked about BYU because that was the GLP-1. And I haven't even started to talk about Stanford and UNLV and Columbia.
BYU is where Dr. Benjamin Bickman is the one that started the first laboratory looking at the GLP-1s. And he's still currently the leading metabolic researcher. And he still has an active lab, still does all that through BYU. And he actually backs his protocol up. He currently backs it up. So, yeah, you're going. Here's your book. Why We Get Sick by Dr. Benjamin Bickman. If you haven't read that book, get that book because it explains everything of what's going on. And then there's another one by Robert Lustig, Metabolical. That one talks about, there you go. That one talks a lot about how the food industry and pharmaceuticals are being hijacked with your body and all that. I haven't read that one completely through. I'm through on chapter 2 with that one, and I haven't done that one yet. But I've heard that's a really good one too from Dr. Jason Fung.
This on fasting. He has the diabetes code, the cancer code.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, he's great. And then you've got the book on Fast Like a Girl, don't you?
My wife has it, yes, but I don't know where she has it sitting. But yeah, if you can find a book, it's called Fast Like a Girl by Dr. Mindy Pills. Really great book and wealth of knowledge of how to fast for a female around your menstrual cycle or even menopause. Uh, she does have another book out there. It's called the Menopause Reset. And that, from my understanding, it's really great knowledge about menopause.
And these authors are often with us at our group events. So guys, we are working with cutting edge science, we're with cutting edge authors, and we are working with a protocol that has 5 patents, dozens of clinical studies, safe and natural. It's guaranteed. What I mean guaranteed? Well, it's guaranteed to work. It's guaranteed to work. If you follow the protocol correctly for 90 days, we guarantee that it will work. We know that it's provable by your own doctor's blood test. And we are so confident, the company is so confident that they put a 90-day money back guarantee on this protocol. And we've been around since 1990 when they brought out the fiber. That's where the 4 patents are on right there. It was originally brought out by Rexall, which was the largest pharmacy chain in North America pretty much at one time, but it's still big in Canada. But they brought out the idea, think about this. They took the fiber out. Well, what if we put it back in? And that's where that was the beginning of BIOS Life. And so then we'll go forward. Stuart Hughes is now the owner. It's family owned. We own all the patents. They're in a trust, so we're not going anywhere. The company has no debt. We're in over 60 countries. So this is unique, and we want to help you guys with it. We have the products, patents. Go ahead.
And people ask me all the time, why can't you just go to this grocery store and get this fiber? You can, but it's going to cost you a lot. Plus, the grocery store, you can't guarantee it's not herbicide or pesticide or genetically modified. That's the beauty of this product. It's NSF certified, which means it's third-party tested for mold, mildew, herbicide, pesticide, you name it, they test for it. And that's not just a one-time test. That is every batch that's made. They test this. So you know it's a good quality fiber. And plus, it's equivalent to 6 cups of broccoli, 5 apples with the peel, and 2 cups of black beans. I can't get that at the grocery store for $1.70. This cost me $1.70 a day. So I'm getting good quality fiber, the cheapest price that I can get, unless I grew it myself. But then you grow it yourself, how long does it take you to get it? So that's why I stick with this, because it's the best source I can get, and it works. I mean,
it's patented. It's clinically proven. We've socially proved it. And so the zero thing is, guys, we've got all this. The protocol works. All we do is in the morning, we kind of bypass the breaking of our fast till longer into the day. And to do that, we successfully use the Unamate tea, which is an extract. And then when we have our biggest meal, before that, we'll have a balance. We have a fiber, which helps fill us in, satiates us, slows down absorption of the glucose. It's very, very simple. It is so simple that it's actually scary for some people.
And in our presentations, we tell you to skip breakfast. That's just because we use that as a reference to everybody can correlate. Now, if you work swing shift, you work night shift, yeah, you can adjust your schedule. Just make sure whatever you eat when you wake up, you skip that meal. So that way you get the 16-hour fast. You can change this how you want for your schedule that works for you. you don't have to follow what we present in the time frames and the presentation, because we just do that because everybody gets a better picture that way of how to do it.
And so what this does in summation of today's program is that the protocol, the Feel Great system, targets insulin resistance directly. It reverses the cause, not just the symptoms. We're not masking symptoms.
Right.
It's better for insulin action, and we're not masking on a fire alarm. So the verse is this, is that if you're taking a prescription for high blood pressure, okay, you have high blood pressure. You have type 2 diabetes. You have belly fat. You have a fatty liver. You are what the drugs are that you're being treated for.
Yep.
And you're broken. You're lazy. You have no self-discipline. So take this pill forever. Not let's fix it. How about look at this? You want to be told how bad you are, and you get to take this until you die. And oh, by the way, you're going to need more and a higher dose until you die. Oh, and there are interactions with that. Oh, good gravy. Or would you just rather restore your health? It's pretty simple. Would you like to have some confidence, or you just want to remain dependent? Because this will help people notice that right away they notice they have better energy, less cravings. They get a smaller waistline, better focus. Their labs are better. Those are all wins.
First day on this, because of my CGM, I watched my glucose drop from 200 and something to 120. First day on this. And then the next day after that, I watched it drop even lower. I mean, within the first week, I was between 77 and 90 on my fasting glucose in
Boom.
1 week. In 1 week. And when I suffered for 25 years with the pills and shots, I could never get below 200. 200 was my lowest point. The only time I got below that was when I was doing fasting blood work. Then I may have dropped down to like 150, but still 150 for a fasting glucose is, for me, for years, was great. But in our reality, it's not. It's still too high.
And on mine, I've gone from 834, which is insane. That's why they call me maple syrup, to at a day 107 on the protocol. My fasting blood glucose was 90.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Tremendous improvement.
And so the big thing is, because food got us into this mess, food got us out of this. It's a lifestyle issue. It's a lifestyle issue, guys. Think about that. It's not, we don't need the meds. We need to change our lifestyle. The solve is in there. And part of the lifestyle is the food that we're eating and that type of stuff. But think about this. If you have a lifestyle change, how can it be made easy? Well, because it helps promote sustainable habits. I was in a program where I was measuring my food by the ounce, by the gram, and counting this and counting that. Totally unsustainable. We bring the fiber back. How many times have we talked about fiber? It slows down the blood sugar. It makes eating easier. It helps the gut, helps cravings. And it's very, very simple. At the end of the day, we're all busy, so we want things that are simple. And the Feel Great system is designed to work with your biology. It improves insulin sensitivity, regulates your moods and your appetites, then it naturally balances your hormones. So why it works? It's natural. It is effective. It goes to the root cause, supports sustainable, real change. It's adaptable to anybody's lifestyle. I mean, I'm going to go have some pizza for lunch. And before I do that, I'm going to have a balance. And I'm also going to drink my Stronghold. But, it's simple. So we'll be back on another network later today. And we look forward to talking to you, chat with you. We'll probably be back here. Tonight. Oh, my goodness. We have a science call tonight. And boy, I'm telling you, it'll be a great one to be on. Get a hold of John or I if you'd like to have the link for that. If you'd like to learn more about the protocol, get a hold of John. His link is right there. My link is right here. We'd love to help you. Or if you know somebody that's on this protocol and you just wanted to learn more about it, then please get a hold of them. We want to help.
Yeah, we're here to help. We're not going to judge. We're not going to do like that. Because I know that was one of my biggest concerns. We're not so people are going to judge me because I can't figure out my own health. No, it's not, like I said earlier, it's not because you don't know what to do or lack the willpower. Your body is literally getting hijacked, and there's nothing you can do about it besides feed it the right nutrition it needs. And this is the easiest way to do it that I found. So, and it's very sustainable. I mean, very. So, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. So besides, jump in and do it. And then if you find out it's not for you, you got 90 days to call and get your money back. So I haven't heard of one person yet that hasn't done it. I've had one person, I have one person cancel, but that's because they couldn't afford it and they want to go when they can afford it. So, I'm not, it's just the way it is, life. Well, but then again, she's also a single mother, and so she doesn't have that big of a budget. So,
John, thanks for being on today. Thanks for it's always visiting you. It's so much fun, and
it's always a blast.
Great. You're doing great. It's always a blast.
It's always a blast. Have a single and George. Be safe out there, brother.